Ladies and gentlemen, we are in a moment of incredible crisis in America. It's centering around events that are unfolding in Nashville, Tennessee. We're going live right now on all of our social media platforms on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So if one works better for you than another, then just get to whichever of those platforms is best for you. We're going to take just the next 60 seconds and allow people to get in on all of those platforms, and then we'll get into the heart of the update. We broke this story last night. Since then, thousands of you have responded, and it has been picked up already on several news outlets, and there are others in the works even now as we are meeting. So right now, as you're signing in, help me out and type in your name, where you're watching from, hit the share button. If you will, hit the share button. And we need to go live right now on Instagram. We are live on Facebook. We're going to be live on Instagram in a moment, and then YouTube. And as soon as we are live on all three platforms, I will be launching. Some of you got angry at me last night because you said it took so long for us to get started. I was waiting for us to be live on all of our platforms. So all of the platforms are signing in. If you'll help me right now and do the following, type in your name and where you're watching from so we know the platforms are live, and then hit the share button. Now, a couple quick things as we start. I'm going to be announcing a petition that we're beginning immediately today. I'll start there. WillAmericaStand.com. WillAmericaStand.com. I'm going to be asking all of you to go and sign that petition. I'll explain it in a moment, but that's where you'll be heading. WillAmericaStand.com. All right, here we go. Instagram, we have Judy Manners in London. We've got Washington, D.C. We've got folks signing in. Facebook is here. Cynthia is here, an hour from Nashville. Boyertown, PA is here. And then if someone can confirm that we're live on YouTube, we will give the update. And in a moment, we're also going to go live to Jerusalem for commentary. So Jerusalem is standing by. Folks, if you would like to stay in direct connection with me and all of these urgent updates, go to eagleswings.org/text, eagleswings.org/text, and you can get us your cell number, and we will text you only when there are emergency updates or special announcements. We do not bombard you with texts. In the 30-year history of our ministry, we have never once ever sold or rented out our email lists, your information, never in 30 years. But it's time for America to mobilize. It is time for America to unify, because America, as we know it, is absolutely standing at the crossroads. All right, we're live on all three platforms. Here we are. Here's the update, folks. A Christian ministry called Hayovel, which means Jubilee in English. It is a Christian ministry out of Tennessee. They have a base in Israel. They were coming back home to Nashville to host a 2-day conference for Christians fighting anti-Semitism, standing up for core Judeo-Christian values. They were going to be at the Sinesta Airport Hotel May 20th, 21st, 22nd. And Friday afternoon, they were informed by the hotel that the hotel had been so harassed and threatened with threats from pro-Hamas sympathizers that the police had recommended that the event be canceled, that the police said that they could not protect the event, could not protect the attendees, etc. Now, I was not in those conversations. This is what I am getting as we are piecing this story together. So if people have more factual information, please bring it forward. But what we know for certain, is that the Sinesta Airport Hotel canceled their contract on this Christian pro-Israel event. Now, folks, if we are at a moment when peaceful, law-abiding citizens cannot safely gather together in a public venue where a contract has been signed, then we no longer have the rule of law. We no longer have freedom of assembly. We no longer have freedom of speech. And we no longer have freedom from discrimination against of religion. We are losing civil liberties if we allow this to happen, which is why we have put together a petition to immediately go out to Governor Bill Lee, to Senators Blackburn and Haggerty, to Congressman Ogles, I believe is the last name, and to the mayor of Nashville. I need everyone right now to go to willamericastand.com and sign this petition. Now, we're going to go live in just a moment to Jerusalem, to our dear friend Chris Mitchell from CBN News. But right now, I need to know that you're here. I need to know that you're sharing. And I need to know that America is going to take a stand. Folks, the issue with history is that you don't realize it was history until you look backwards in the mirror. And sometimes that takes a year, 5 years, 10 years, 30 years for you to realize, oh my word, that was the tipping point. This is the tipping point. This is a historic tipping point moment for the future of America, for the future of everything that we hold dear in Western society. And so I need you right now to go to willamericastand.com, sign this petition, and we right now need to get as loud as possible as we move all this forth. Okay, my producers are here, and if there's an update I need, please let me know. Are we ready to go to Jerusalem? All right, so we're going to go right now live to Jerusalem as you go to the willamericastand.com and sign this petition. We're here with one of the most trusted journalistic voices coming out of the Middle East today. You need to be following Chris Mitchell and keeping up with the updates that he brings from Jerusalem and beyond. He is the head of the CBN Jerusalem Bureau. And Chris Mitchell, you've been covering this story. I saw you post just about 30 minutes ago. Chris, give us your perspective on what's unfolding here in Nashville, Tennessee.
Well, Robert, first of all, it's great to be with you. We were together just after October 7th. You were here during that horrific day when Hamas attacked Israel and killed over 1,200 people, kidnapped more than 250. This almost seems like an outgrowth of October 7th. What became rallies around the world in different cities, and now in the last few weeks on college campuses, just talking about Palestine to be free from the river to the sea, asking for basically the genocide of the Jewish people and the state of Israel. And so as you brought up facts about this particular case in the last couple of days, I know right now that First Liberty Institute is representing HaYovel, and they have sent a letter to the Sonesta Nashville Airport Hotel and telling them basically in a very specific legal way to honor their contract and recognize the First Amendment rights of the HaYovel, also the Israel guys, which is part of their media arm, is part of that, was going to be part of this conference from the 20th to the 21st. I'll just read you just a couple of our things from their press release. It is un-American and illegal to cancel a gathering due to religious beliefs, and quite frankly, it is morally wrong. This is Hiram Sasser, the executive general counsel at First Liberty. He goes on to say the Sonesta and others cannot surrender to terror in violation of federal and Tennessee law. If this hotel chain surrenders to pro-Hamas terrorist belief, where does it stop? The hotel must make the choice of standing with American ideals or pro-Hamas terrorists. We hope the hotel will quickly reverse its decision. And as you were saying, Robert, if it doesn't stop here, where will it stop? Where will pro-Hamas people just kind of intimidate hotels, venues, and just try to suppress the First Amendment rights of especially pro-Israel people throughout the U.S.?
Chris, the issue here, people become familiar with this phrase, the canary in the coal mine. We don't think so much about coal mines anymore as they might have thought about them 100 years ago, where that phrase perhaps made more sense. But the idea is that canaries used to be in coal mines, and if you saw canaries flying out of the coal mine, it was a sign that the coal mine was weakening and that there was perhaps, a disaster coming. And people have talked about the Jewish people and persecution against the Jews as a canary in the coal mine, a first indicator, a societal first indicator, because when persecution came against the Jews in historic times, it quickly followed against others. For example, we all know that during Hitler's Holocaust, 6 million Jews died, but Hitler also committed genocide against gays, the homosexual population in Germany, against the Romano gypsy population in Germany, against disabled people. There was an entire persecution that followed that. So, Chris, what's happening here, and we have to make this point, this conference was not a Jewish conference. There were a few Jews who were going to be in attendance, but there's over 400 Christians registered. This is a Christian event held in a neutral location. Every American, if you are a Muslim American, and is a Hindu American, an agnostic American, a Buddhist American, whatever your background, if you are an American and you believe that you should be able to meet in a location peacefully and have the ability to congregate and exercise your freedom of speech, this is what we're talking about, what's at stake here. This is not just an anti-Semitic issue. This is now an issue of basic freedom of assembly, freedom of speech, and the rule of law in America. Chris, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree, Robert. And it's also coming at a very strategic place, I would say. You could argue that Nashville is the buckle of the Bible Belt, and striking at the heart of evangelical Christianity in some measure. So that's why, perhaps why they're coming against this particular conference in part. But these anti-Semitic pro-Hamas demonstrations had gone to college campuses coast to coast. But you're right. And to paraphrase, I'm sure you know that saying, and I'm paraphrasing by a pastor, they came for the homosexuals and I didn't speak up. They came for the gypsies, I didn't speak up. Right. And then they came for me and there was no one else to speak up. So, I think we've said this before in the past, Robert, when the Jewish people come, or people coming against them, there will be Christians, unlike Nazi Germany in the 1930s, that many of them unfortunately remained silent. There were great examples like Dietrich Bonhoeffer who didn't, but it's the time to speak up, not only for the Jewish people, but for first American rights for all Americans.
Well, and Chris, you've been at the forefront for 25 years or more, bringing us reputable, insightful reporting from Jerusalem and the greater Middle East. I always check first on whatever you're reporting to know that what I'm getting is factual and what I'm getting is coming through a biblical lens. Folks, if you're just joining right now, there is a crisis in America. It is unfolding in Nashville, Tennessee. It is a historic red line moment. We must not back down from this moment. I'm telling you, this is evil testing the boundaries, pushing the boundaries to see how far they can push until there's going to be pushback. They've been doing this on the college and university campuses. And of course, there's all kinds of accommodations made because these are students, and this is the college campuses are some weird blend of private, public property, etc. And they've gone unchecked now on these university campuses. And now this has come to a public event, contractually bound, legally binding contract being canceled in front of our eyes, as Chris just pointed out, in the buckle of the Bible Belt. And so we need you to go right now urgently to the website, willamericastand.com. We need you to sign that petition. And then I need you to do this. Many of you are saying that you've signed. What we need you to do, please, and I'd like you to do it live in the comments. I'm reading the comments as they come through. Would you then forward that email to 5 people and say, listen, you need to check this out. You need to know what's going on. Folks, the time is now for us to get loud. We were just a few days ago at the Israeli embassy, Chris, and you and I have been there together before. You weren't able to make this particular meeting. We were at the Israeli embassy, and we're just trying to walk into the embassy. And the protesters that are outside the Israeli embassy, the volume of the protests, it was indescribable. It literally hurt your ears how loud they had everything up. There is a propaganda war going on right now in our nation. And many times the church, we try to be nice. We try to be accommodating. We try to honor other viewpoints. But folks, we have come to a moment. It is time to get loud. So if you will go right now and forward the petition to at least 5 people on your email list, will you type "I'm forwarding" into the comments? Because this needs to become, we're starting to, Chris has posted, I saw 2 or 3 other news sources that have posted, but I believe within the next 12 hours, this needs to hit Fox News, CNN, the Washington Post, the New York Times. We have to make it clear that America will not back down. We will not be silent. We will not bow in fear to Hamas threats on American soil. We will stand with our American, God-given, constitutionally protected liberties of freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of assembly. This is everything that is on the line right now. If you are new to the broadcast, if you're just tuning in, follow us on social media, Instagram, Robert R. Stearns, Facebook, Robert Stearns Public Figure page, YouTube, Robert Stearns YouTube page. Follow us, turn on the notifications button. And if you want to get the text reminder on your cell phone, which we rarely send out, it's only when there's emergencies or a special gathering. That's eagleswings.org/text. Thank you, Janet Douglas, for sending that on. Thank you, Anna Rose, for signing and sharing. Thank you, Pastor Craig Pridgeon, for signing and forwarding. Thank you, Sulo, for signing and forwarding. Carol Fouché for signing and forwarding. We're going to go in a moment to Manchester, England, to get commentary from a leading pastor there. Chris, I know you've got another urgent gathering to go to, but take the last 2 or 3 minutes, Chris. You've covered all of this for a long time, but as you and I were together in the unbelievable aftermath of, not really the aftermath, the moment of October the 7th, my hotel was across the street from your studio, and we literally were living in real time the greatest massacre of Jewish life, the greatest bloodshed of Jewish life since the Holocaust. And the world quickly seems to have forgotten. And by the way, Chris, and I don't want to get too diverted off topic, but I'll mention briefly, I think we should mention briefly, I think it was yesterday, the UN has radically backtracked their statement of the number of deaths in Gaza. I hope you saw that report, Chris. We're not surprised by this because, when you're listening to what Hamas says, how are you going to believe people who rape, torture, kidnap? But Chris, just put all of that together for us, the October 7th moment and how that's connected to what's happening in Nashville.
Well, first of all, that UN report did come out, and it cut in half the number of women and children that they believe had been, or they claim had been killed during the war with Israel. We're doing a story that should be on later this week on CBN News and the 700 Club, just about the death toll, about the we believe, and many statisticians and other people that have studied this believe that these numbers are exaggerated just to serve the propaganda value of Hamas, to make people, cry genocide, which is not true. Israel has taken extraordinary lengths to protect Palestinian lives in this conflict since October 7th. John Spencer, who's a military historian, says it's unprecedented what Israel has been doing to protect civilian lives in the midst of not only urban warfare, but urban and tunnel warfare, which is something unprecedented. So that's one thing. The other thing is that if this tactic works in Nashville, where would it stop? Where would any pro-Israel gathering could be intimidated by pro-Hamas activists and try to shut this speech down? And I would say, finally, Robert, what we have heard over and over, and I think you've heard that as well, is that the battle that Israel is going through right now is really the tip of the spear of Western civilization. And it's not just a battle for Israel's survival, although it certainly is that, but it's also a test and a battle for what the West will do. And that Israel, as you say, is the canary in the coal mine. And we need to pay attention to what's happening here, because what's happening here will come to the United States and the Western world. So that's why this fight is so important in whatever way, certainly by prayer, but also by activism.
And I would just say it's not really that it will come or might come. I believe it is here. I believe the war for America has begun on American soil. And this is a battle. The question is, ladies and gentlemen, will America stand? And you can be a part of that answer by going right now, doing two things. I need you to go to willamericastand.com. If you're saying, what's going on? I just signed online. It's all explained there. Go to willamericastand.com, sign the petition, and forward the petition to at least 5 friends that you believe care about the future of America, the future of Judeo-Christian values for all peoples. I want to live in an America where Muslim people have a freedom to speak their mind and have freedom of speech and freedom of assembly. I want to live in an America where atheists have absolute safety to speak their mind and have freedom of speech and share their ideas. E pluribus unum, out of many, we are one. The strength of our nation has never been that we've set out to have a theocracy where we, like Islam does, radicalized Islam, demand absolute submission or else. No, the God of the Bible is a God of free will, a God of choice, a God who allows people to choose how they want to live and how they move by their own volition, their own moral agency. I want to live in an America that guarantees rights for all its citizens. What is happening in Nashville is we are moving toward mob rule from terrorists. What's happening in Nashville is terrorists are making terroristic threats, and our elected officials and our police department must uphold American values and protect American citizens. I'm going to Nashville. I want you to join me. I'm asking thousands of you to change your plans next week and to join us in Nashville for this gathering. We'll have the information up on the screen. And Chris, let's stay in touch over the next few days as this story continues to unfold.
Look forward to it, Robert.
God bless you. We're praying for you, and we're praying for the peace of Jerusalem.
Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you've just tuned in right now, this is day 2 of the story that we broke last evening. America is at a critical crossroads. We have found ourselves at a historic moment, and it centers around the great city of Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville, Tennessee, home to America's country music industry, America's Christian music industry, home to the Bible Belt, the buckle of the Bible Belt of America. How is it possible that in Nashville, Tennessee, there can be pro-Hamas sympathizers that have caused there to be a cancellation of a legally binding contract from the Sonesta Airport Hotel of a Christian gathering? This is not a Jewish gathering. There were going to be Jews in attendance, but this was a Christian gathering, a peaceful Christian gathering to combat anti-Semitism and to teach about the connection between Israel and the Christian faith at the Sonesta Airport Hotel. And pro-Hamas sympathizers, and let's be clear, if you're pro-Hamas sympathizer, you support rape. You support the murder of babies. You support beheading. You support kidnapping 80-year-olds and keeping them in tunnels for 215 days. This is the hostage necklace that many of us are wearing. This is not a Jewish issue. This is not an Israel issue. This is not a political issue. This is an issue of good versus evil and a culture of life versus a culture of death. And it's manifesting itself in a little hotel in Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville, are you listening? I need everybody right now. If you have any friends that live in Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, Georgia, anywhere surrounding, I need you to forward them the email, the landing page, willamericastand.com. Forward them that link. I need thousands, tens of thousands of you to sign this petition. This is going to be live from, today is Monday, Tuesday. What is today? Monday. This is going to be live until Wednesday, where by Wednesday, we hope to then present this to the governor, to the senators. They're already informed by it. They already know what's going on. We've already been in touch with their offices. However, the strength of our response, the strength of their concern is going to be directly connected to how many signatures are on this petition. How many of you mobilize? How many of you actually understand? I say this lovingly. I say this respectfully. You're going to get angry. I don't care. Quit praying. I don't mean that realistically, but here's what I'm saying. I'm going to pray about it. I'm going to pray about it. Have your prayer be getting on the phone and calling 25 people. Have your prayer be forwarding the email. Nehemiah was called to rebuild the wall, but he had to rebuild the wall with one hand. That's prayer. But he had to fight with the other hand. That's the moment we are at. This is not a moment for more church services or sacred assemblies or solemn gatherings. I love them. I've participated in all of them. They're all wonderful. This is a moment for the front lines, and Eagles Wings is here on the front lines. We have prayer constantly. Yesterday, we had an incredible prayer gathering at the Tabernacle in our service, crying out to God at this absolute crucial moment. But we have to partner with God to become the answer to the prayer that we are praying. So I need you right now to get loud. Sheila Witham just signed and forwarded. Jose Rivera just signed. Jose, will you forward? Pam Schnelzer signed and forwarded. Janet Douglas is going to come and join us in Israel. I need you to join. I need you to forward. Sign in. Give us the name. Give us the city that you're watching from. We've got to get loud right now by going to willamericastand.com. If you want to get emergency text updates over the next few days, believe me, listen to the words I'm saying. History is going to record what happens in this situation. We are either going to turn them back and demand that America stays under the rule of law and our constitutionally protected rights, or we're going to cede ground, we're going to give up ground to bloodthirsty terrorist thugs. That's the moment we're at right now. That's the moment that's in front of us right now. I need you to follow me on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. I need you to turn the notifications on. If you're really diehard and if you're really with me, I need you to go to eagleswings.org/text so that I can text you when emergencies arise. And I can't do this if you don't partner with me. eagleswings.org/donate. We've got to pay these bills. We've got to keep live. We've got to keep online. That's from you being our partners. Going to your pastor saying, Pastor, are we partnering with Bishop Robert? Are we partnering with Eagles Wings in all that they are doing? Thank you, Pastor Connie Salerno. Pastor Connie is getting this onto her church's Facebook page, and we are so grateful. I want us to go right now to Manchester, England, to one of the great emerging leaders, a voice that you've heard of and you're going to hear more of in the days to come. And that is Pastor Micah Wood. Pastor Micah Wood is with us. He is joining us right now, live from Manchester, England. Micah, you and your family are currently on mission in Manchester, England. But your home, your birthplace, your home is just a few hours from Nashville, Tennessee. This is right in the heartland of your backyard. You've been following this situation closely as it's unfolded over the last 36 hours. You've been on the front lines with Eagles Wings as we are blowing the trumpet and alerting not only the Christian world, because we understand, folks, we have friendship for all. I have dear Muslim friends. I have dear Hindu friends. I don't know so many Buddhists. If you're a Buddhist out there, I'd love to take you to dinner. But we have friends all over the place. This is an American human issue. This is an issue of what kind of society are we going to live in? And Micah, your family has been on mission in the UK for the past, 6-8 months. You have seen what happens when a society does not take a stand, because many would say that it's almost too late for parts of Europe, that parts of Europe now have been so overrun that there are neighborhoods that police won't go into because they're Sharia law, areas. You have a very unique vantage point living in the midst of Europe right now, and yet seeing this unfold in America. Micah, Pastor Micah Wood, give us your thoughts.
I think what's so concerning about this situation is that you see the bullying and the intimidation into silence. And that's exactly what's happening at this event in Nashville, is that the violent threats are intended to bully people into silence so that way the truth is not heard. And when people who carry the truth are bullied into silence, then there's nothing left but lies. And then that's how the mind of an entire generation gets shaped in such a way that they become hostile to the truth because they don't know anything else. And unfortunately, we see that a lot right here in neighborhoods of Manchester. Not everywhere. There are pockets here and there of people who stand with Israel, but it is extremely unusual. My son, Ezra, he's 14 years old. He goes to a high school right here in our neighborhood. Demographically, it's probably around 70% Muslim student population. And he started the school just before October 7th, about a week before. And he's there for a week. The terrorist attack happens. And suddenly everyone starts asking him the question, do you support Israel or Palestine? Which is a tough question for a 14-year-old. You know, this is not a football match. This is real life. This is war. This is difficulty. And he responds, I'm praying for the Jewish people. And from that moment, he begins to face bullying, intimidation, hostility, people up in his face saying F Israel. He was at one point surrounded by an entire locker room of boys chanting F Israel around him. And I asked him, I said, buddy, do you want me to contact the authorities at the school? And he said, no, Dad, not yet, because I like having the opportunity to respond. I like having the opportunity to say something to them. Well, the breaking point was just the next week in class. He was in his classroom, and they have classes here in the UK called RE, Religious Education. And in the middle of the class, the teacher said, now, how many of you don't know the story of why there's an Israeli-Palestinian conflict? And some of the students raised their hands. So she said, okay, well, I'll tell you why there's conflict right now in the Middle East. She said, the reason why is because after World War II, the Jews didn't have anywhere to go. No nation wanted them. So there was a nation called Palestine said, give us the Jews, we will take them in. Then when the Jews came to Palestine, they looked around and they liked the place, so they kicked all the Palestinians out and sent them as slaves to Egypt. That's what this teacher presented as history to her students. So at that point, now it wasn't me standing up for my son, it was me standing up just for reality. And so I immediately scheduled a meeting the next day with the head of the entire program in the School of Religious Education. And I said, your teachers are teaching a false history. And she looked at me shocked. She said, when I brought your concerns to your son's teacher, she was surprised. She thought she was teaching objective history. Now, how do we get to that point where clear lies are being taught as objective history? It's because the steady intimidation of radicalized thought has quieted
Micah,
truth.
I'm going to interrupt you. I'm going to interrupt you, Micah, because what you are saying, we can't miss Micah's point here. In other words, the fact is this teacher literally is believing what they're teaching. Folks,
yes,
there is room for disagreement. There is room for negotiation. There is room for opinion, but there's not room to not tell facts. There's not room to not base things on truth. There is such a thing as objective, factual reality. And what we're facing right now is a propaganda war that says, if I shout something loud enough, strong enough, repetitively, it will eventually seep in and people will accept it as truth. And even if they don't accept it as truth, they'll be scared to even question it. So you bully a people into a mindset. If you're just tuning in right now, we've got people tuning in everywhere. I need you to sign in, give us your name. You don't have to give us your last name, but your name, first name, the city where you're watching from. If you're comfortable, hit the forward button. Go to willamericastand.com. If you're saying, what is this about? What's going on? All of the details are there, willamericastand.com. And we're talking to Micah Wood, who's coming live from Manchester, England, but he's from Alabama. So he has this unique perspective because his children go to school in a predominantly Muslim neighborhood. And post October the 7th, they're involved in this happening. And Micah, this is what happens if step by step, little by little, we give up ground, we give up territory, which is why, folks, I need you to forward this petition to at least 5 friends who you believe will be on the same page so that we can send a message to Governor Bill Lee, Senators Blackburn and Haggerty, Congressman Ogles, and Mayor O'Connell. I believe it's O'Connell, the mayor of Nashville. We'll get that confirmed in a second. Micah, continue. Mayor O'Connell in Nashville. So Micah, could you have imagined 5 years ago that this in Nashville, Tennessee, that pro-Hamas terroristic threats could shut down a public gathering at a hotel? And is this conceivable to you even 5 years ago?
It's not conceivable. And just as I've seen different press releases and information about this story, and the question is coming up, who now is determining the course of American public discourse? Who now is determining the actions and the values of America? Because right now, in this situation, it's not Americans, or it's not, rather, the better way to say that is it's not people who stand with and embody American values. Hamas essentially is now dictating to America what is acceptable and what is unacceptable in the public space. And something you said so well last night as we were talking to our dear friend, Pastor Juan Rivera, because he said, listen, we'll open up my church and we'll have the event at my church. And I feel like every pastor feels that way. But you made the great point saying, Pastor Juan, yes and amen to that sentiment. However, that's exactly what Hamas and its supporters want us to do, is to push this into the private spheres of faith, into the private spheres of our prayer closet only, and we never make a public stand. And that is the thing that I see so evidently, even here in the UK, is that people who support the supposed Hamas cause, they are very loud and proud about that. There is no shortage of Palestinian flags and signs that say end genocide. I rarely ever see the opposite of people taking a stand with the Jewish people taking a stand with Israel. And there has been this intimidation into silence so that the loudest voice ends up becoming the perceived truth of the day. And that's exactly what's happening in this situation in Nashville. The loudest voice is trying to bully and intimidate everyone else into silence.
Anna Rose has just done this post. It says @followers. And I know that's a thing on Facebook that you can do. I don't know much about technology, but if that works, and if you can do that right now on Facebook with your @followers, it gets this into the stream. Folks, I am appealing to you. This is a red line. This is a 5-alarm fire. This is a red line in history. This is all hands on deck moment. I don't have enough superlatives. I don't have enough hyperbole to get you. If I could reach through the screen and get a hold of your shoulders and shake you and say, do you understand what's going on? I would do it. This should shake every American. Every Jewish American, Christian American, Muslim American, Hindu American, Buddhist American, atheist American, Baha'i American, whatever your background. This is not a political issue. This is a free rights, human rights issue. If this was any other group, if there was any other group that through threats of violence, the police said, we can't protect you, I would be standing up and saying, even if I disagreed with the content of that group, every group has freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of religion, freedom of basic American rights enshrined in our Constitution. Go, please, to the website, willamericasstand.com. Sign it now. By Wednesday, we want to have these signatures to present to the offices of these elected officials. Go right now and forward this to everyone that you can. If you can today, if you can go right now and give a $20 donation, www.eagleswings.org/donate. eagleswings.org/donate. You know, part of the struggle that Eagles Wings has is that we've been so consistent. We've been here so long that some of you just kind of take us for granted. Some of you don't really understand that we have to meet budget every month. We've got to meet payroll every month. We've got to stay on the front lines every month. I only can do that if you partner with us. That's the only way we can keep it going. And we have already financially made decisions on how we're speaking out on these issues. I I've already allocated thousands of dollars out of our budget so that we're going to be there on the front line. We're going to be there present in Nashville. We got to buy flights. We got to get hotels. We got to get there. We've got to get press involved. We got to do all of this. That only happens. Can you go right now and give a $20 gift, eagleswings.org/donate. And willamericastand.com. Forward that on to as many friends as possible. By Wednesday, we want to present these to the elected officials. And then I am going to get on a plane. I'm flying to Nashville. I booked my flights. We're going to be there. Do we have the exact dates? It's the 20th to the 22nd, I believe. We will get them for you, the precise dates. We will try to go live again probably tomorrow with another update. Again, if you want to keep up with our updates, go to eagleswings.org/text. eagleswings.org/text. In 30 years, we have never one time ever rented out our database. It is a sacred trust between us and you, our followers. And so we invite you, please, to join us. This is a 5-alarm fire, all hands on deck. Micah, give us a final comment here, and then I'll close us out. What would you say to Americans? What would you say to people right now? What are some steps besides the ones that I've described? I think, Micah, every single person listening right now, as soon as you and I hang up, should get on the phone and call their pastor. I think that is step one. I think they need to call their pastor and say, Pastor, are you going to join us and speak out? Micah, what do you think we need to do?
Well, it's just what you said earlier. You said, guys, stop praying and start acting. And of course, you didn't mean to stop praying. We all are embodying this intercessory posture, but it does remind me of when Moses is standing in front of the Red Sea and he starts crying out to God, and God responds and he says, why are you crying out to me? Move forward.
Yeah.
And the essence is, Moses, you are an intercessory man, but the time has come for action. And Bishop, you said something to me one time personally. We were on a trip to Israel together, and you said, Micah, we hear prophecy, we prophesy, but at some point we have to become prophecy. And I believe that's what's standing in front of the church right now, is we have to not just hear something and say something in the prayer closet. We have to become something. And what we become is the embodiment of a defense force, the embodiment of those who take a stand in ways that are tangible, in ways that cannot be ignored, in ways that cause real change. So the ways that you've listed: contacting pastors, signing the petition. And I want to encourage every single believer to ask the question, what can I do? Once I've done these things, what is something I can do personally to engage and not stay complacent?
100%. 100%. Folks, what a day. What a moment. October 7th, I was in Jerusalem with my children. The morning of October 7th, about 6:40 a.m., we heard the alarms going off, the sirens going off in our hotel room. I told my kids to go back to bed because I said, well, Israel always has attacks. Israel always has rocket attacks. That's the tragedy of it, that the Jewish people, not only the Jewish people, all the inhabitants of Israel live under the constant attack. But within hours, we understood this was not a usual situation. And now we have had this domino effect. We have gone from the attack on October 7th to the disintegration of America's finest universities and colleges, the corruption, the brainwashing of our young people, to now this horrific decision to not give Israel the military support that it needs, the weapons that it needs to defend itself. And now this comes to these issues. Are contracts going to be legally binding if somebody bullies you, threatens you? is the right of assembly, the right of free speech, the right of religious practice. Are we going to lose the America that our grandparents and our founding fathers and mothers fought and bled and died for? That is the reality. It is not hyperbole. It is not exaggeration. This is a moment, if you believe in freedom of speech, if you believe in the rule of law, if you believe in freedom of assembly, I need you to right now go and sign the petition, willamericastand.com. Then forward that petition to a minimum of 5 friends that you feel share your worldview. Sign up for the text alert, eagleswings.org/text. Like and follow us on Robert R. Stern's Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Turn on the notifications button so that you'll know when we're going live. And if you can today, it would be a huge, huge help if you can go to eagleswings.org/donate. Trust me, if you could see, this fancy, well-lit studio, do you know where we are? We're in my basement. We're in my basement. My washer and dryer are right there. There's my grandma's old china that's over there on the shelf. Folks, we are doing this in the most cost-effective, inexpensive way that we possibly know how, but we can't do it for nothing. I need you to partner with me. If you can on a monthly basis, if you can't, at least make a one-time gift right now. The future of the West is at stake. I don't know precisely. I would imagine that we'll go live again tomorrow. You'll know about it if you go to eagleswings.org/text. Pastor Micah Wood, thank you for signing on from the UK. And everyone, thank you. It's time to get loud. It's time to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And it's time to stand up for America. God bless America. God bless you. We'll see you soon.